Welcome to the She Word and this special series that we've been running with Petra Ellul Mercer on financial freedom. And we're finishing off the series with another round of questions that you have sent to us to ask Petra and to grill Petra. Petra, thank you for coming back. Thank you for answering these questions. And thank you for this entire series on financial freedom, which is really a topic for me that when we sat down and started this series, I was kind of uncomfortable about, because we've been talking about financial responsibility and the empowerment that comes from being financially responsible and the freedom that comes from it, but it's not necessarily a particularly comfortable process to go through. And it's one of those conversations that's just really easy to hide under the carpet. But here at the She Word, it's all about having conversations that women rarely have but really should. So I'm really excited that we've done this series and that you've really opened up some quite tricky conversations and questions. And I've got two questions that have come in from our audience who've asked if they can post these to you. And the first says, just basically, expenses are getting more expensive at the moment, but my wage hasn't gone up. Now, this is where we're all at the moment. I want to continue to stay afloat, but I really don't know how I'm going to cope if prices continue to rise. And Teresa's mentioned this, and this is an issue that's facing pretty much all of us. Rent is going up, fuel is going up, because of that food is going up, and that's just the basics. So what do we do? Because wages are not matching this.
Yes, I mean, this is a very similar question to the previous session that we had. No, salaries aren't going up. Inflation has decreased slightly, but is it going to go back to its original 2%? Personally, I doubt it very much. So we've been in this scenario for over a year. Have we gotten used to it now? Or is it having more of an impact month upon month and leaving us with less money in our pockets?
Before you answer the question, I'm going to come back to you and just ask you just to open up that idea of inflation. Because as you mentioned, inflation in Malta used to be 2%. Inflation across Europe has risen. For instance, Czech Republic, I happen to know, is running at 18% on inflation at the moment. But what does that actually mean? Does that mean year on year prices are going up by 18% of everything? What does that mean realistically? Because we hear this in the news, but I want us to understand what those implications are.
It's affecting basic utilities, which affect a lot of areas: our food, our staple diets, our petrol, all the key essentials. And ultimately, how does that pass on to, the person that pays? Well, the increase in prices ultimately has to be paid by us. So everybody adds on this additional value, and us as the consumer end up paying it. So one way that the government tries to tackle this is obviously the central banks by increasing their interest rates. So in order to kind of like balance things out. But naturally, if salaries don't go up to meet that balance, it makes it even harder on the consumer, on us at the end of the day. So it has an overall circular implication. How do we meet that challenge? Just as we mentioned before, Trudy, you really, really need to look at how you are spending your money, on what you are spending your money. You need to look at the question yourself, do I really need this? If you are buying on impulse because you feel that you deserve it, because you've been working really, really hard, you've got to pull back those reins, but also look at other opportunities. And I know it's not easy, where you can make some extra money. If it's maybe the rental of a room that you have, now in the summer period, we have a lot of students coming in. That could be beneficial, some extra income coming in. If there's anything that you could do online, even the way you shop, it's becoming more popular, sort of going to vintage shops and things like that. Yes, sort of people say, yes, but it's not something that I do. Why should I go and buy second-hand clothes? Well, it's definitely becoming more fashionable, so you do have to rethink. You have to break old habits to rebuild new ones. I mean, again, it's going back to behavior. It's all very psychological. Even if you see what happened in the last couple of months in March, when we had the collapse of Silicon Bank, okay? And then there was two other banks, Swiss Bank. I read this really interesting article, and they mentioned what you've just mentioned now, the psychological aspect. So you've got cash in your hands. So even that effect, if you've got 100 euros and you've paid 80, you've got that 20 euros. That 20 euros is telling you, irrespective of your situation, I only have 20 euros left. When you have your card, it's completely different. It's, tap this, that. It's the psychological thing. And they were mentioning in this interview, when you're in front of a bank teller, okay, and you're withdrawing money, they're doing that. There's time, there's the element of time, which gives, bank managers time to think what's happening. But if you want to shift money nowadays, it's 2 seconds.
Absolutely. I'm going to come to the last question that was sent in to us by Max, and it says, I'm in my mid-30s and not yet on the property ladder. We spoke about this in the series. I seem to have missed the boat. Can you make any practical suggestions, as it seems that if I want to save a deposit, then I'd have to move back to my parents or find someone to move in with, and that doesn't seem like a viable option. Now, this was a concern of these young women of the future, the last show of the last season 1 of the She Word, and it's a very tangible concern. Even for myself, I'd love to say I'm in my mid-30s, maybe a few years older than that, but it's still a very, very real concern. And if you aren't on the property ladder by the time you're into your late 20s or 30s, have we all missed the boat?
Look, it's a really good question, and probably my reply does not fit with most of the people watching this. Do I really need to buy the property? When I weigh out the costs of renting, okay, and the costs of buying, knowing that interest rates in the bank have gone up, knowing that you don't only buy a property, but you also have to furnish a property. You also have to maintain that property. I would personally now do that exercise. Rents as well are going up, so do the exercise.
Although the rents are controlled. The laws came in a number of years ago to control how much rents are able to increase. I think it's worth knowing. I don't know that everybody knows that, but there's a 5% per annum cap on the rental market in Malta.
Yes, I know. I think that's a whole big discussion in itself. But I would do that exercise, and definitely when it comes to bank loans, for sure, shop around. Really shop around, because now banks are starting to offer different opportunities. Definitely you need the deposit. I think it's about 10% now. At one time, one bank shot up to 20, but then pulled it down. But definitely shop around and see if it's worth, if you should go on a variable interest rate or on a fixed interest rate. You need to understand your lifestyle, your commitment, and what it is you are actually aiming for. You have to do those calculations. Is it really worth it?
It's very refreshing to hear you say that, because I think, as you said, we've all been drummed into us that buying a property is the be all and end all of life. And certainly when we were talking to these young ladies, Mariah herself said, this is what I need to do. I'm never going to get on the property ladder. I need to have a property. But even in the context of that conversation, I think all three of them at one point wanted to travel. And of course, that's not necessarily conducive. And as you said, it's about lifestyle. It's not necessarily about just making sure you have this property. I do believe you have another question that was sent to you as well.
Yes, and this was about pensions. Okay, so this came from Sharon, who works in HR, and she said, so you spoke a lot about private pensions and its importance. But when she used to work in the UK, her organisation used to have a private pension scheme.
Absolutely.
Is there anything for organisations in Malta? Yes, there is. It's called a voluntary organisation. It's been in Malta for about definitely 3-4 years. I believe the government are pushing more and more for organizations to enroll. It's in the acronym is VORPS, and there are really good benefits. Benefits not only for the employer but also for the employee. So, as we had mentioned in the previous series, currently the government is offering a tax rebate. So, if you purchase a private pension plan, you get a 25% tax rebate from the government. Okay, so 25%. Now that is a good investment.
That's fantastic.
Yes, irrespective if you're, just starting your working life or if you're as old as I am, okay? So that 25% is very good. So when we're talking about organizations tapping into VORPS, they're also going to be benefiting from this tax rebate as an organization. But the employee, okay, if they have a private pension plan, their own, they're getting that 25% tax rebate. With the organization, they can also benefit from that tax rebate. So it's, what do you say in English? A double whammy?
A double whammy it is.
So yes, there is, especially large organizations really need to start considering this because they're losing employees. It costs a lot to replace an employee. Sometimes, employees are just leaving for 20, 30 euros more. So if we're going to start focusing on benefits, this is definitely one of the key benefits that organizations need to start looking into. VORPS.
Brilliant. Now, we've come to the end of this incredible series of based on financial freedom and empowering women to embrace financial freedom. I would encourage everybody to go back, look through the season. There's these some of the clips are 3 minutes, some of them are a little bit more, some of them are 10 minutes, but they all are incredibly important. And I want to say a huge thank you, Petra,
thank you.
because you came to the She Word. This was your passion. You wanted to empower women. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some more conversations as well. But for now, I want to say a huge thank you. And of course, if anyone wants to find out any more information about any of this, it's JA Malta and Gemma.
Yeah.
And they just put that into a search engine. You'll find it. You'll find all of the information on both of those sites. As well as social media as well.
Yes, definitely.
But for now, I can't thank you enough. Petra, thank you so much for coming onto the She Word and really having commitment to financially empower women.
Thank you. Thank you very much.